Hello everyone. In this lesson we're going to take a look at e-commerce, which is an important part of today's economy. So let's go ahead and take a look at the material. So first off, what is e-commerce? E-commerce is the business of buying and selling goods and services online. E-commerce is based on transactions, and these transactions involve many different types of technologies: mobile, supply chain management, point of sale, electronic data interchange or EDI, online transaction processing or OLTP, and certainly web-based technologies as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at some other aspects of e-commerce as well. So what about e-commerce from a growth standpoint? E-commerce is an important and growing part of the worldwide economy. Online sales are growing steadily, and in 2020, right now during this pandemic period, online sales have exploded, and companies like Amazon are really doing an incredible business right now. Just to give you an idea, as of the second quarter of 2016, e-commerce accounted for 8.1% of total retail sales in the United States, and quarterly sales were over $97 billion in that same period. So this is a gigantic number, and it's only increasing. So we're going to see more and more online sales, and more traditional stores are moving to online sales directly. Let's look at some other aspects of e-commerce as well. So what are the different types of e-commerce? Well, it turns out if you look at the groupings of these, they fall into the following buckets. The first one is business to consumer or B2C. The next one is business to business or B2B, consumer to business, C2B, consumer to consumer or C2C, and government to citizen, G2C. So let's go ahead and look at the details of each one of these types of e-commerce. The first type of e-commerce that we're going to look at is B2C, or business to consumer. In this type of commerce, companies sell directly to consumers, and probably the best known example of this is Amazon.com, where Amazon sells directly to consumers. So many companies operate both retail locations and web-based businesses, and this can lead to a problem called channel conflict. An example might be a company like Best Buy, where you see something online, then you go into the store, and there's a different price on the item in the store than there is on the web. And this is called channel conflict. And that's a problem for a lot of companies that are doing these mixed mode businesses. People will see a lower price on one channel than the other channel, and it causes some conflict because the consumers will complain about this. So some traditional companies have had difficulties in moving to online sales, and not all of the traditional brick and mortar companies have had successful transitions of moving to the web and selling via e-commerce. So that's a little bit about B2C, or business to consumer e-commerce. Let's go ahead and look at the next model. The next type of e-commerce that we're going to talk about is business to business, or B2B. And this is an example of businesses buying goods and services online from other businesses. And these are typically designed for high volume purchases. They can increase supply chain efficiencies, since companies don't have to do a lot of paperwork. They can do it electronically, and they can lower their cost for doing these transactions and increase competitiveness. Large companies often require business partners to utilize e-commerce systems. For example, General Electric, if you want to do business with them, they require that you send them transactions in a certain type of way, in a certain format. Typically it's called an EDI transaction, and they can mandate this due to their size. And so if you want to do business with GE, then you have to comply to their e-commerce requirements. So that's a little bit about business to business, or B2B commerce. Let's go ahead and look at our next model. So the next model that we're going to look at is consumer to consumer, or C2C. And this is designed to establish a consumer-to-consumer marketplace. And so the best example of this is perhaps eBay or Craigslist, where individuals are selling to each other. And these marketplaces provide basic services such as shipping, billing, and payment mechanisms, so that it really is a complete marketplace. If you've ever sold anything on eBay, the shipping is integrated in. The billing and payment mechanisms are also built in, so that when you get paid from eBay, they take their cut of the transaction and they pay you in some kind of electronic way, most typically through PayPal. So that's an example of C2C commerce, and probably the one that a lot of people venture into is either a side gig or even a full-time job, trying to set up their own marketplace on something like eBay or perhaps even Shopify. So these are consumer to consumer marketplaces, and that's another bucket of these e-commerce types. So let's go ahead and look at the next e-commerce model. The next model that we're going to look at is the government to citizen, or G2C model. And this allows government agencies to provide basic services to their citizens electronically. And they're designed to replace the old form paper-based systems that required a large amount of manual labor. And it really allows government agencies to lower delivery costs and really provide much better customer services. So some typical examples of this are like filing your taxes online, that is now a complete replacement for the paper-based system that was in place years ago. More services are on the way as cost becomes a more critical driver. Government agencies are being tasked, just like any other business, to do more with less, and they need to become more efficient. So that's government to citizen, or G2C e-commerce. And so now we've looked through all the major e-commerce models. Let's go ahead and look at a summary of what we've talked about. In summary, e-commerce is an important and growing part of our economy. More and more companies are pushing to have a large web presence, and even those that already have a large web presence are looking to even grow that. The good news is this business represents a huge opportunity for IT personnel for developing, operating, and maintaining these systems. And so with this growth in e-commerce, it's causing an equal growth in the back-end systems that need to support these systems, and they all require all kinds of IT personnel to support them. So that's really it for this lesson. I hope it's given you a good idea of the different e-commerce models out there and some good examples of those. That's it for this lesson. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.